Hello, everyone, and welcome to Medium on the Move. I truly believe that sometimes the spirit world draws us to people and situations long before the actual events happen in physical reality. It's like a gravitational pull you can't quite explain until hindsight kicks in. Today's story is a perfect example of that. It's a tale of serendipity, of how love leads us back together, and how spirit is quite happy to use a ferret, a fox, and a pair of pink socks to get their message across. It started in early December with the words serendipity popping into my head. I was Christmas shopping in the Foyleside Shopping Centre in Derry. As I came down the escalator, my eyes just lit up when I saw Waterstones. It's one of those magical places that holds everything my imagination desires. So I decided to venture in thinking I might pick up some gifts. Right at the front of the store, there was a display stand featuring one incredibly intriguing book. I was immediately drawn to it. It had that beautiful old world charm to it. The cover featured a boy, a mole, a fox, and a horse. Now, the fox is significant. The fox is one of my spirit animals, and I always pay attention when it shows up in my space. It had shown up explicitly on a road trip around the same time I went down to Dublin to pick up my daughter's new pet ferret with her. This fox had run straight across the main road, right in front of the car. Immediately, my spirit guides went, "Dawn, you need to pay attention to this sign." At the time, there was no clear validation as to why it showed up that night, but I've learned enough to know I had to bank it for a future scenario. So I put it in my spirit compartment in my head and waited. Pegging Waterstones, staring at that book, I felt that old familiar shudder of spirit as they stepped into my vibration. I didn't know who it was yet, but I knew it was a man. Someone's dad, perhaps. I didn't buy the book that day, though with its beautifully detailed cover, I highly recommend it as a stocking filler for life. It's called The Boy, the Mole, the Fox, the Horse, and the Storm by Charlie McKessie. Just over 2 weeks later, I planned another shopping trip, this time meeting my son in Foyleside. I came down that same elevator, past the magical trees and Christmas displays, and there at the entrance was the same book. To be honest, I had forgotten about it till then. In my head, a voice said, "Dawn, you need to get that book." But for who? I have got to the point in life where I am blessed to have all I need, and I don't do impulsive buying as much. So I said to the voice in my head, "I'm okay. Look, Spirit, have me buying teapots and even old vintage ladders to help me get a message to someone in the past." Objects are a very strong way to communicate with me, objects and music. I left the book and went to potter around the women's section in Dunnes Stores for a bit. As I went to the till, the angelic voice of Charlene Soraya started singing "Wherever You Will Go." I hope I pronounced that correctly. Bingo. I have several spirit songs that alert me to being on duty as a medium. When I heard that track, I knew it was my day out with them. Anything could happen. This medium was on the move again. I sang it away to myself as I walked up the aisle and headed towards the men's section. People stopped and chatted with me naturally. I guess that's what I love about Derry. People care and people want to engage. It makes me feel at home, even if I am a blow-in, as my dad would say. My dad, he would also say, "Dawn, you're very hoity-toity," and then he'd laugh. I could feel him with me right then in the men's aisle, reminding me not to buy him a jumper because he has enough. My dad passed in May of this year, and my heart is still so heavy with loss and grief right now. I still cry most days, and being a medium hasn't helped much other than know that he is truly okay. It's always reassuring when he shows up for the random moments, just to let me know he is still close. I was busy figuring out gifts for my sons. Even though celebrating Christmas is odd this year, my dad loved the season, and I wanted to keep things as normal as possible for my own children. My eldest is 28, but no matter what age my kids are, life is for living and spoiling each other. My son joined me back in the women's section with his partner. She is from Thailand and has never experienced Christmas ever. She just loves it and the family values it represents. Putting up the tree with her days before was such a joy. Her face lit up with every pink ornament she placed. Her light and laughter have been such a positive experience for our family during such a sad year. With little English between us, we get by using Google Translate. The joys of modern technology bridging cultures. We pottered about and picked out some new pink jumpers. Now, as we are both short people, finding short trousers is challenging, and I knew fine well we wouldn't get them in Dunnes stores today. Heading to the cash register, we joined the queue. In front of me was a short woman, and I smiled a smile to myself. My head started talking again. I questioned. She is short. I wonder, does she know where I would get short trousers from? Very bold and forward like that now. Along the sides of the queue were all those extra bits the store wants you to buy while you're waiting, including racks of socks. I smiled when right beside me, between me and the woman in front, were the exact same stripy pink and white socks I had bought a few weeks before on my previous trip. As if she heard me in her head talking to her, the woman turned towards those exact socks and started touching them. She turned to me and said, "Do you think these are nice?" I said, "I have those exact same ones," and grinned. She didn't know what I knew. We had literally telepathically linked with each other's thoughts. A new spirit was up to their tricks, trying to help me create conversations on their behalf so they could say hi. I knew it was her dad pushing her, but I stayed quiet on the mediumship front. Instead, I chose to say, "You see how we are both short people. Would you have any idea where I could get short people trousers?" I tell you now, it was a great icebreaker line. She laughed and advised me where to go. Objects, telepathy, and the voice of her dad were helping us link. We probably should have said more, but she was heading up to the cash register, so I just wished her a Merry Christmas. I could feel the giddy energy of my guides. They get quite mischievous in these situations. Rejoining my son, I felt tired and drained. I was longing for a cup of tea and suggested we go sit down. However, my son was on his own mission to buy me a pair of shoes for Christmas. I didn't need them, counting all the 4 pairs of wearables I already have at home. I live modestly. My dad would be proud. He says, "Come on, we will go to Sports Direct." So we did. Now, I am light sensitive. The lights in some shops burn my skin and give me bad migraines and seizures. It can happen rapidly. I usually always go out with someone, just in case I get unwell. 10 minutes to myself in public is pure freedom, and I tend to run amok. But I knew as I walked through the entrance of Sports Direct this was too much. The lights were beaming down, my head was banging, and the burning had started. I dipped my head to avoid the oversaturation as best I could. We checked out shoes, and I grabbed a pair as quickly as possible. I liked them. The sales assistant went to get them and came back with a size 4 that felt more like a size 3. I left them back. I just really wanted to get out of there. But oddly, against my own instinct to leave, I walked directly to the man at the desk on the way out and asked if he had them in a size 5, thinking it would only take a moment. He disappeared and did not come back for about 10 minutes. I was melting like the Wicked Witch in The Wizard of Oz under those lights. I could feel my dad telling me, "Run for cover, Dawn, you're melting," a standing joke between us. Having had enough of waiting, I turned to my son and said, "Let's go." I bent down to pick up my shopping bags, and as I looked up, I saw a tiny wee woman approaching me. She goes, "Dawn." And I go, "Oh my God, Kathleen." My other mammy, whom I'd not seen in about 13 years, was standing there with a grin on her face. Had I left that shop any sooner, if that sales assistant had been any faster, this moment of synchronicity would not have happened. Destiny, fate, and spirit relinked us right there by the exit door. We exchanged chitter-chatter, and I finally got my shoes brought to me. Kathleen and her family were a big part of my life in Mobile many years beforehand. Her dad often came from Spirit to say hi back in those days, and her children were regulars in my home and mine in theirs. We discussed Christmas and getting the shopping done, and I could feel her dad right there with us as we spoke, knowing full well he had orchestrated the whole thing weeks ago. Suddenly, she said, "I just bought a book." I go, "Which one?" She pops into her bag and brings out The Boy, the Mole, the Fox, the Horse, and the Storm. I just laughed. I knew fully well what Spirit had been up to. She looked at me and said, "Dawn, it's serendipity." Bingo! There it was, the exact word I had been using for the past number of weeks. It is just another sign that my words and thoughts are often influenced by those in spirit. It always excites me when they connect the jigsaw puzzle of experiences and events together. Kathleen and I parted ways, and I finally went off to have that much needed cup of tea and some food at the Blackbird by the bus station. Divine food, by the way. As I sat there, I realised that through the years, real connections don't fade. We leave an impression on each other, and so does spirit. Kathleen's dad brought us together that day, weeks before we actually met, using a ferret, a fox, and leaving breadcrumbs in the form of pink socks and a pair of shoes I love. Not long later, I clicked my shoes together and my partner whizzed round the corner to pick us up. He had been looking at the exact same book in another part of the city, wondering, should he buy it for me for Christmas? This story is dedicated to Kathleen and her wonderful family in Greencastle. It was a joy to be reminded that time and distance mean very little when hearts are connected. May your Christmas be filled with magic, and may you all find your own moments of serendipity. Thanks for listening, folks, and see you all for my next episode of Medium on the Move. Don't forget to follow so you don't miss out on my next adventure. That reminds me, did I ever tell you about the night with Sally Morgan in Strabane? It's a great tale, and I will share it next. So just so you know, this is AI, but I am very much a real deal psychic medium. I use AI because I have health issues, which impacts my skin. But every experience I share is real, and who knows, maybe our paths will cross in the streets of Derry or Belfast next year. If you have met me on your travels in life and want to share a story, you can submit them at my website. Thanks for being here, and Merry Christmas.